Welcome back to the Pre-Vetted podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Today, we're joined by Erin McDonald. She's the CEO of Spilt Milk Nannies in the Seattle area. Erin stories about taking an unexpected turn, moving away from traditional business path, leaning into childcare, and then building a thriving nanny referral business where she personally vets sitters and helps families match, schedule, and build trust. She also helped create software to make life easier for nannies, parents, and has built a real community around high standards of care. Erin, welcome to the show. So, in one sentence, tell us a little bit, what do you do?
I think you put it pretty well. It's a referral service. So I am onboarding and screening the babysitters so that parents just get to log in and schedule somebody that's already vetted. So it's really great for saving time for the parents just for a date night or anything occasional too.
Right, right. So, what problem do you solve for families?
Yeah, I always think about just how busy parents are and this idea that they don't have to interview a sitter just for a date night, or the parents that don't need part-time care or full-time care, they just need like one shift a week to go get something done. I think that when I interview nannies, I kind of tell them that a 4-hour shift, nannies get to show up. We just have our undivided attention to the children. We don't have to worry about like the household and all the competing priorities that parents have while they're home. And so the idea that we get to put their kids first for 4 hours, I think every parent needs that to be able to leave and know that their kids are taken care of. And so I tell the sitters, I'm like, we're allowing these parents to have a life, like whether it's a gym or a meeting or something really important, like visiting somebody without kids so they can actually have a conversation. Like, I think all of those things are so important for parents. So I think the problem is giving parents kind of an out and just knowing that their kids are going to be well taken care of. I think everybody needs that.
I mean, I before being a parent, thought I was, invincible, like do it all, adventurer, right? Then I still remember the first time we took our son out of the hospital and into the parking lot, and we had to get across an avenue that we crossed so many times, but then suddenly the whole world was so dangerous, right? And
Right.
we were so afraid just to, you know, walk a few meters to the car, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the same thing happens when we had to leave our son with somebody, right? Because it's nerve wracking, right? It's safe. We mostly leave it with family, but still there is some tension there, right? And
Right.
it's not about the nanny. It's not about who takes care of the baby. It's about us, right? Because it's something so personal, right?
Yeah, I think that that's something I really had to overcome is this idea. I mean, it's been, 14, 15 years, and I still get a little nervous of like these parents are leaving me with their prized possession, like the most important thing in their lives. And here I am, you know what I mean? So it is a big deal. And I have an addition to the problem that I solve. I think for the nannies, this is a really wonderful business because the nannies that are in college, most of them are they might not have part-time or full-time availability, but they want to make some sort of income, but their course load is heavy, right? So spilt milk is also a really good solution for the nannies and the sitters because they get to just input their schedule and work when they want to. So that goes a really long way here in Seattle because we have like 6 colleges in the area, right? So it's really great to be able to provide that work for the nannies too.
Right, right. Because finding the match is about the the cultural alignment, the personality, but also the schedule. So
Right.
yeah, and as a sitter, as a college student, just finding a potential parent is such amount of work, right?
Yeah.
That it's hard. Yeah,
Yeah, Seattle is transplant city too, like, all these tech families move here for work and all the college students I mentioned, like, Spill Milk is their network. Like, once you're on my platform, you have access to all the sitters that I've already met, and you have access to all the families that I've screened too, so I think it's really great that you can not know anybody, and I can, like, set them up with, like, their favorite families.
right, Right. Yeah. And vetting becomes so important. I
Mhm.
mean, we we kind of joke with my wife about that the world is more dangerous now, which kind of is, but but there's also the component that we're more informed about everything that happens. So we feel that it's more dangerous, right? There were serial killers killing people in the 80s, but we didn't know about it, right?
Yeah.
So, I feel that it's still dangerous. My wife used to go to school alone, walk on the streets alone at the age of 5, right? And I'm thinking I wouldn't do that with my son, right?
Oh, I know.
So I think that the vetting becomes much more, important in today's world.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody's interested in like the danger of parenting today, you should read this book. It's called Anxious Generation, and how it's like, you're right. Like when we were younger, we'd walk to the store, we'd get a candy bar. Whereas now, like kids don't really have that opportunity to be independent because parents are so nervous about it now, you know? So, and that book was amazing. And he did a lot of like workshops at schools too to help people encourage the kids to be independent, but also, like, safely. So that was just really eye-opening as a parent too, of just, like, it is changed. Yeah, it's definitely changed.
Right, right. I mean, I saw a documentary where in Japan they let small kids just go to school alone, right? And it's a big part of their culture, right? And we kind of, I mean, I grew up in a similar way, not going at school alone at 5, but, kind of go, here's the world, go figure it out, right? And we kind of need a little bit of that, right? But on the other hand, we see all the risks and then we say, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Right. So why did you choose this line of work?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, well, so I started in the business when it launched and I was a nanny. And so I ultimately just fell in love with my usual families. I was seeing these four families like regularly. I was the most booked nanny I met, like every single family in the business at the time. There was like 40. The kids that I started with when Spilt Milk launched are in college now. But basically, what had happened was the founder was graduating and she had kind of said, like, I think the business is going to close. And I was like, don't do it. I will take over. I just saw the potential of like, this is the perfect business for me because it is professional, because I'm communicating with a lot of parents and nannies, but it's also fun because it's childcare. Like, I get to put all my childcare experience and just share it with nannies, and they get to report back, like, I did that chalk obstacle course for like 2 hours and it was amazing. Thanks for the idea, you know? So I just love that I manage this business, but it's what I like truly care about. So I think going back to, like, my upbringing, even when I came to college, I really didn't know what I wanted to study, but I knew that it would be helping people in something that I, like, cared about doing, and this is just exactly what I envisioned. I might not have known that when I started, but then looking back, I'm like, those were the 2 things in, like, my essays, and now I'm doing it. I'm helping people, and I love it. So, I don't know if I would have done this if the founder hadn't created it, but I really do think that, like, this is my life career now. I'm not going anywhere.
Right, right. And it's interesting because you not only started as a nanny, so you understand how to execute, and now you can manage the nannies, manage the platform, and it's. I think that you're in a unique position where you're better to vet other nannies because you've been
Absolutely.
there, done that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I took over my sophomore year in my undergrad, and I think one of the biggest things I had to overcome was that confidence of, like, I'm 21 years old, like, why are these parents gonna trust me? But remember, I had 40 families in my back pocket, like, rooting for me. Like, you know what it takes to be a nanny. Like, that's what you're vetting for. Like, I had one mom that was always, which she just called me, that's why I was pointing at my phone. But she was always just like, find people like you. Like, that's all you have to do. Like, meet them. Are they like you? Work in this role, right? So I think that because I'm a nanny, it made my vetting even better because I was like,
Right.
they're gonna work really well, or I don't know if they're, like, have enough energy for the kids that I work a lot with, right? So, knowing the families really helped me vet because I was able to, like, picture them working with them, but also just, yeah, knowing what it takes. I think I'm a big believer of that cliche saying, like, if you're gonna be a leader, like, do what you expect others to do.
Right, right. And whatever you ask, you've done it already. So
Yeah.
You're not asking something that, you're not using your finger and saying, do this without you have firsthand experience.
Right. Yeah.
So what was the hardest part early on?
Yeah, it was probably gaining that confidence like I mentioned, but also just gaining the trust of all the families and the nannies, reminding the nannies that I understand if there's a hard shift, tell me about it, I'll help you. It is an interesting role because there are no coworkers. You can't share stories about other families with other people, so nannies don't really have that sounding board like most jobs. So I try to really like have that community for the nannies as well, which is I think rare. And then also I think one of the hardest things is just the reliability. Like when a nanny cancels, it's really hard as the owner not to like feel sick, like, oh my gosh, they're canceling on this family. They're left in the lurch. This is horrible. And so finding replacements is really hard on busy nights like Fridays and Saturdays, like the popular date nights. So many years in, it still isn't easy to find replacements last minute on busy days. I don't think in any job it is. But I think that's one of the challenges is there will never be enough childcare for all the families in the world, right? So reliability and just really having like dedicated nannies and sitters is a challenge.
Right, right. Because after college, they also move on to other activities. So
Yes,
they,
yes, it's a very
yeah,
much transitional job, which some families get a little mad about, but when a sitter graduates college and goes to her like dream career, that's great. It's exciting, it does suck when I lose the good ones, but yeah, and
right.
then sometimes they come back like, "Hey, I don't work on Fridays anymore. I'll input availability." So a lot of nannies actually do come back after time off too.
That's interesting. I haven't thought it that way, but it makes sense.
Yeah, or between jobs, like, I have a lot of nannies that will come back, like, "I just left one job, I'm looking for my other, can I work in the meantime?" So that's been really helpful for them too.
And the challenge is, even though it's a transitional job, for them to take it seriously, right? And
Right,
that's
yeah,
a challenge.
yeah. Yeah, so when people are, like, joining between jobs, I'm always like, "Don't input availability past the start date you wanna input," right? Like, that has happened before when someone gets a job and they're like, "We have to cancel the next 2 weeks." I'm like, "Why did you put the schedule in?" So I just communicate a lot of, like, don't input times that you cannot or might not work.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's. I mean, I kind of go back to the vetting, right? The importance of the vetting is not only the credentials, the attitude. There's so many little details to take care
There
to
really is.
screen on the vetting. So, what makes a nanny great in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, we just touched on, really fine tuning that they're reliable and trustworthy. I get a lot out of references with that. I check the childcare references. So I ask, are they on time? Did they communicate when there was any scheduling issues? But personality wise, I think that obvious, like the bubbly, outgoing personalities work really well because you're expected to like go into the home of a stranger and connect with them and gain respect and trust from the family, from the parents, but then also like be fun and inviting for the children. So I always summarize all that just into being adaptable and being intuitive of like what needs to get done, like what routine am I following? How am I going to make this fun? And things like that. But flexibility is one of my biggest spiels as well because we do see a lot of different families. And so being able to step into each house with an open mind and follow the rules that they set is kind of my biggest thing I'm looking for. And so I sum that up in adaptability, patience, and really being compassionate too, and just genuinely caring for the kids. Maybe they have a rule you're not used to following, but you have to follow it, like that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of love Mary Poppins, the movie, right? Where she kind of gets in and kind of breaks all the rules, right? And it's great for the movie, but that's not a real nanny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what is one red flag that you look for when you're screening?
Probably references. I think that anybody that's had a good babysitter or nanny, they're going to recommend them. So when I'm checking references, if they're kind of, questioning or like one wording me, I'm going to say that something wasn't ideal with this candidate. So I get a lot out of the references, making sure that, one, they have the previous experience they mentioned and that they were liked. So I think, yeah, I think that comes down to if I meet with them and I just don't feel in my gut that they would mesh well with a lot of the families I know, I won't move forward with them too. So references, kind of my own gut check. If their communication is not clear just while scheduling an interview, I'm not going to trust they're not clear while scheduling work, right? So even just the
Right.
pre-interview process is really important to my onboarding because if you miss the interview, you're not going to hire you if you're going to miss shifts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I this reminds me of a story where I had an employee that she disappeared for 2 weeks, right?
Oof.
And then she came back saying, "Well, with a whole story about her son that was thrown to jail, so she had to take care of that." And I told her, and we would pay her weekly, so you know we pay on Friday. She disappeared. So my answer was, "I can understand that, and I'm sorry for having to go through that, but you had, you know, Monday to communicate, Tuesday to communicate. You have many
Yeah.
opportunities. We had, we had phones, we had text messages. There's so many ways that you can reach out, right?
Mhm.
It's not that she was in jail, right? So I felt that it was an excuse, and then she wanted to come back. But at that time, my answer was, now I cannot trust you. If you let me down this time, I don't know if you're going to let me down in the future, right? So
Yeah.
there is this concept component of trust in it.
Yeah, and that makes me think of something too, is just the professionalism these days. I read an article recently about why it's challenging to hire Gen Z right now. Social media is one thing, like addicted to phones is one thing. Like I don't want sitters on their phones while they're working unless it's like nanny related, which even that is a stretch. Like you should be paying attention to the child, right? But it is a challenge as some of us owners, like we're getting text messages at like 1 a.m. from a sitter, like, I'm not feeling well, I'm calling out, which rightfully so. The sooner the better we can find a replacement, but not at 1 AM. So that's a hard line to draw of like communicate in ways that's also acceptable. I don't know. That's been kind of tricky.
Right, right. Where do you draw the line? It
Yes. Yeah.
it's hard, yeah.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if somebody says, I don't feel well, I'll do my best, but
Yeah.
I'm giving you notice as early as possible.
Yeah.
Then at least if she reaches out again at 1 a.m., then she did her best. You
Right.
you
It,
can
it
you
I
can kind
do
of understand
appreciate
that.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for me, it's about that transparency of what's going on
Yes.
or what could happen, right? We do the
Yeah.
same thing with my clients. On we do staff augmentations, and we have engineers, and we had similar situations where recently we had a situation where a developer could not leave, so he went out for the weekend, and then he could not travel because of all the issues that happened in Mexico. So Monday morning we were communicating. We have one developer that it's out, is trying to get to his house. It's it's going to happen during the day, maybe. Well, we don't know, but we were going to prioritize security over getting to work as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And we just let the customer know, and it's a little bit frustrating because he was expecting things to be done that day, but providing the transparency, and at the end of the day, that was out of our control, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but but I think it's better to do that than to keep it quiet until everything blows up.
And that's another like challenge in terms of reliability. Sick cancellations, right? Like I want and parents want nannies to cancel when they're sick because we don't want to get the kids sick. And especially when we're going house to house to house to house, we don't want to be like the germ spreader. So parents and nannies are expected to cancel if anybody in the household is sick because we don't want to spread that. And sometimes it is really hard to I'm sick, I gotta cancel, and you have to accept it, but it is hard.
Right, right, because it's do you prioritize the service or the safety of everybody, right? It's
Right.
hard, yeah.
Yeah, that's what the
And
transformation.
understandably, right, right, and understandably, the parents will be, you know, could be upset of, I was waiting for a nanny, and now we have
Yeah,
to make changes on our plans, right? But
right.
with priority on the safety and the safety of their kid, then I think they would understand it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what do nannies wish parents understood better?
Yeah. My first thought is how the respect is mutual. We, as nannies, see, I wear many hats, so I'm going to put on my nanny hat. Like, we're expected to show up on time and be there the time of the shift, right? And families should also be on time. So it is challenging when we have like a date night shift, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. If parents are late, yes, we may not have a shift after 10 p.m., but, like, we're expected to get off at 10, right? So that is a really hard boundary that some parents push by being late. Or if it is a daytime shift, like, we might have an afternoon shift that we have to get back to, so that first family must be on time for us to get to the next shift on time, right? So I think respecting time, but also, like, the bigger part of that, I feel like everybody has the horror story of like, my sitter didn't show up. This is horrible. But nobody really talks about the challenge as a nanny. You have all these bookings with families, and they're like, our event canceled, our plans changed, our mom came in town, and they cancel those bookings. And then that sitter just straight up loses the work, right? So
Right.
a lot of times I mean, parents can cancel, that's okay. Hopefully, nannies can get rescheduled, but I hear a lot that families will coordinate a bunch of shifts and then be like, "Oh, my work schedule changed," and then they cancel it all, which from the nanny perspective, it's really hard to, like, make up those hours, and everybody has a living to pay for, you know? So, I think respecting time and just, like, sticking to the schedule can be really, really big things from the nanny perspective.
Right. Right. Do you track those type of behaviors on, on both
Yeah.
sides?
I mean, yes and no. Like, I have a cancellation stats page on every parent and nanny. However, this is just a really flexible rule. So there are families that cancel when their kids are sick 2 hours before a shift. And I can't do anything about that, you know. But sometimes if it's busy enough, I can be like, oh, this family canceled and this nanny got canceled on. You guys should be together. So sometimes I can connect the cancellations, and that's like a pretty good day. But I guess I don't really notice much of like cancellation trends because it is ultimately out of my control. I care more about like, do they need a replacement? Did I find someone? Does the nanny still want hours? And try to solve those problems.
Right. Right. Yes, that makes sense because it's hard to track all of those behaviors, and then it might not be reliable, right?
Right.
But
Yeah, it's
but
very
if you have a
situational.
right, right. But if you have a parent that always cancel at the last minute, then you can detect that, and then you can make decisions with that information, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you're doing something similar with the nannies, right? You can see the patterns of when
Yeah.
nannies are behaving as expected reliably, and then when they're not, and then you can make decisions on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just recently, I had to tell a nanny, I'm like, I need you to stop inputting Saturday nights. You can pick shifts up day of, but because 3 things happened on a Saturday night, I don't want you working again until you know you can. And so I'm usually pretty nice about it, but I'm like, "Hey, it's been 3 Saturdays in a row. You're done with Saturdays unless you pick something up day of," just to try to hopefully get ahead of that.
Right, right. Yeah, and the other challenge, which is kind of related to this, that you don't know not only need to vet the nannies, but you also need to supervise ongoing
Yeah.
the dynamic, because otherwise the quality can go down, right?
Exactly, and even though I am growing, like, I have this number in my head, like, I don't want to get above 100 nannies because I still know them personally, whereas I
Right,
don't wanna get to a number where I'm like, "Oh, which one was this?" You know, I can still tell you where Jessica went to school, you know, or, like, what Whitney's doing right now because she was between jobs when she started, so I really like being able to know them individually, so I want to grow, but I also need to grow where I can still know everybody.
right, right. Which is kind of what I was thinking about. You also, with this business model, you should not grow nationally or internationally, because you get into these issues of quality very quickly, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that the level of care and vetting that you put into it, it what make the difference of any other service.
Yep. Yeah, my other cheesy saying that I love is quality over quantity. Like, I'd rather have 5 really good new families than 50 questionable families, right?
Right.
Or, like, 2 really good nannies, but I didn't hire the other 8 ones, you know, like, I'd rather do the 2 good ones than the rest of the interviews.
I mean, we do back channel reputation verification on the people that we bring in because we had bad experiences, and I don't want that. I don't want to bring a bad hire with our clients. So because we stand behind every candidate we present. So it is tricky and time consuming, right? Yeah. So what is one story that made you proud of your work?
I really couldn't narrow this down. I think I would summarize it of any review that says the word lifesaver. I feel like that is just like makes me so happy when a parent is like, spilt milk is a lifesaver. Erin is a lifesaver. Like, I really do want to make it easy for parents to just log in, book a sitter, and have a wonderful experience. And so when they talk about, like, my kids loved every sitter that came, that makes me so happy because it means obviously I'm doing it right. I also love when I have first time parents. What I typically do is I try to be their first nanny a couple times if my schedule allows. And I kind of show them the ropes. Like, sometimes it's coaching the parents. Like, you have to leave. It's going to be okay. Like I like to really talk down the stressed out or not stressed, but like nervous parents in the beginning. And then I love like the next year, I may see them again and they're a toddler and they're like, we've loved every sitter. And so getting them comfortable with booking a lot of sitters, I think it can be like let's see. A lot of people prefer one sitter. Like, yes, know my family, grow up with us. That's wonderful. That's not always an option, especially with fluctuating schedules. So, this idea that they get to join Spilt Milk and have a bunch of sitters to pick from. But if they have a flexible schedule, they can pick and choose their favorites. So, they get like the pool of usual sitters. And I think that's really great to hear that, like, they love having the options. Right? Like they may like this one sitter for bedtimes because she's very calm and loving, but then they want the super upbeat sitter for the full awake daytime. And that's a possible. So I like giving them the options of sitters and knowing that they like everybody on the roster and are okay with booking different sitters.
Right. Right. You talk about coaching parents. Do you also coach the nannies?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do. So I do the interview with them. I check references. I check their background. I make sure they have active CPR certification. And then I send a welcome packet, which is just very like the expectations of spilt milk, like the standards that they have to meet. They have to respond that they've read the welcome packet. I kind of have like hidden questions in there that I want them to read. When they say I've read it, I'm like, no, you didn't. I love doing that because I can tell who like took the time to really read it, right? And then I have a couple other like supportive kind of resource documents that help them how to be prepared for your first shift, like support with ADHD and neurotypical children. I just had a recent webinar made for courageous conversations. So like sharing hard feedback with parents because it can be really intimidating talking about a behavior that was not ideal to a parent. Like no one wants to be like, your kid was really hard. But I hope that nannies can be more comfortable and confident to do that. So I definitely do help the sitters for a lot of situations. I have like tips and tricks on the websites for them to read through when they have like a hard behavior or a challenge.
Right. Right. And do you think that a good nanny is born or made? I mean, do you think that?
Yeah. I feel like you can't really pinpoint what it is that makes people good with childcare or with children, right? And I think that you can grow into it. And a lot of it comes down to just communication. Like you have to communicate to a toddler who has no logic. That is so hard. Or like an 8-year-old that does not want to do what you're asking to do. Like a lot of it comes down to how you communicate and how you represent yourself because they vibe off of that. Right? So I think that anybody can learn those skills of like how to talk to kids, how to connect with them, how to get them to listen, how to get them to respect you. And I think all of that comes down to you have to be fun. I think the only time that kids will listen to you is if you are fun and if you're able to like get on their level. So I think there are a type of people that are born that way, and it's just easy. I think there's another type
Right.
where they have to try really hard, you know? So, yes and no. You can become good with children, but I think certain people just have it.
Right. Right. You can coach them on some techniques, on some tips and tricks, on some giving feedback to a parent. That's something that it's a learned skill, but yeah, they need to come with that spark, right?
Yeah, and the Courageous Conversations is a really wonderful webinar. I haven't actually shared it yet, but a good example of this is, like, for the nannies that have previous nanny experience, but they haven't seen a lot of different families. I'm always like, ask the questions. Like, I think some people are like, oh, I don't want to ask. They're going to think I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, no, if you ask a parent, do you want me to lock the door if we go to the park? They're like, oh, thank you for asking that. I forgot, but yes, please lock the door. So again, just parents are so busy. I think asking a question so that you feel confident when they leave, they love you for it. They know that you're, like, thinking ahead and have the experience and want to follow the rules. Um,
Right. Right. I one of the things that I kind of learned in that process is that it's kind of the responsibility of the parents to set the rules for the kids,
yes.
whatever that might be. And that usually becomes an issue, and particularly in Latin American families where the great parents get involved and they kind of walk over those rules, right? It's
Yeah.
because they have the experience and the parents are not, they don't have that experience yet, right? But being able to set that boundary, it's a process, right? It's something that I will learn how to do. My mother-in-law is amazing. So we had a great relationship, so I didn't have that issue, but I've seen that happen many times in
Yeah.
Latin American families. Right? And at the end of the day, it could be arbitrary. We could not be in agreement, but at the end of the day, it's their kid, is their rules, right? Yeah. And you also mentioned about coaching the parents, right? What tips would you give a parent that might be listening to have a great experience with a nanny?
Yeah, I think it's just having the respect of trusting, knowing this person coming in has the experience. And you're right, like, it is up to me to tell them my expectations. That's the only way they're gonna meet it. Like, again, with so many different households, some families have, like, the three-page printout of rules. The other family is just like, "Thanks for coming by." And so as a sitter, we really have to figure that out. So I'm always just really clear expectations, like laying out the routine. When do they eat? What do they typically eat? What's the bedtime routine? Will there be any, like, challenging behavior that I should be ready for? And then they can be like, oh, we're really working on this.
Right.
So that's something I'm asking before the parents join. I'm screening them as well. I'm not doing like a full interview, but part of it is just, what are your expectations for sitters? Because I want to make sure they're in line with mine and fair and reasonable,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also your responsibility is to protect your nannies.
Yeah.
The nannies that you vetted from not so good families, right? To have a
Yeah.
great experience on both sides, basically, right?
Right. Yeah. It's my saying is that I'm managing a community, not a business. Like, I will bend over backwards to defend and support my nannies because I need them to do what I do. Right.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of agencies don't treat their nannies right, or they don't defend the nannies in certain situations because they're like, "Oh, the family's the paying customer." But in my situation, like, I need the nannies. I will do whatever I can to help you, to have you stick around, keep working, all of those things. So, yeah, it is really important to me that the nannies are in good working environments too.
Right. Right. Um, the other thing that we did with our kid is we teach him sign language.
Oh, yeah.
So before he was 1 year old, he was able to do sign language with us.
Wonderful.
So that kind of delayed a little bit. He started talking a little bit later, but it was amazing because we were able to communicate
Yeah.
very basic things, but good enough, right?
Yeah.
More milk, I want to go
Right.
to the bathroom, things like
My
that.
daughter can't say please without signing please. So
Right.
I
And thank
studied
you.
speech and hearing, and thank you, yeah, and I minored in sign language. So I'm actually fluent as well. So my kids know a
Nice.
lot of sign as well. It's really powerful because when they're in that frustrated can't talk phase, they have an outlet, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we love it, but now he's 10 years old. So now he grew up and he forgot all about it.
Yeah.
It's so we're frustrated because, you could sign, now you cannot.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting experience, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, are there any special skills like that you work with your nannies to develop because this is something unusual, right?
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of dual language sitters, a lot of Eastern Washington is Spanish speaking and English speaking. I have at one point I had three like French speaking families and one nanny that spoke French. And so I was able to like connect them. But I used to actually work with deaf children. I led camps for deaf kids and children of deaf adults. And it was my friend and I, we led these summer camps and it was amazing. So I actually tried to launch a Spilt milk that was specific to sign language sitters. It didn't work out though, but
Right.
I do love solving those problems. Sign language, I don't have a ton of families that need that, but I think I do have like an info sheet actually in my onboarding with like here's common baby signs so that nannies might know. um,
Right. Yeah. I mean, eventually, like, now I'm seeing videos when my son was a year old, and
oh,
he would communicate with yeah, he's so cute, right? He used to be so cute. Now he's a big boy, right? He's almost a teenager.
yeah, 10 wants nothing to do with you, right?
What did you do with my cute boy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But the interesting thing is that, I mean, we kind of get used to how he talked with sign and sound, and now we see it and it's confusing, right? It's, you kind of forget how he used to speak,
yeah,
right? So I can see how having a sign language could help, right?
right, yeah.
So we kind of talk a little bit about this, how keeping quality high as you grow, right? Do you have any? You mentioned a little bit about that you want to grow a little bit more, but not so much, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any other concerns about keeping quality high?
No, I'm not concerned by it. I think it just requires a little bit more work, obviously, from my side. So I have been doing this 14 years, but I am constantly like upgrading my processes. Or if I have an interview question that's just not really landing anymore, I'll tweak it. I think that finding the questions that are more applicable to like what I'm seeing right now. So like my last new families are all infants. And so right now I'm asking more infant specific questions in the onboarding. And yeah, I think it's just kind of keeping up to date in the childcare world, like asking things like how do you manage screen time limits? There are families that are no TV, no screens whatsoever, and then other ones are like take it away after one show, which is always a big meltdown. How do you handle that? So just kind of keeping up with the times and asking the right questions depending on that.
Right, right. I used to have my son. He would get angry, not angry, but stubborn when we shut off TV immediately. The longer he would watch TV, the harder we'll get to get him out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't remember where we read this idea of notices. In 5 minutes we're going to shut it down. In 1 minute we're going to shut it
Right.
down, and it still works. I mean, he's 11 now, and can I watch TV, or can I do this activity, or can I play with a friend? And we're kind of leaving. We're doing something else. So I say yes for 1 minute. I see the clock. 1 minute. Great, 1 minute. He's super happy. He plays for 1 minute, and then I give him two, right? But it
Yeah.
doesn't kind of affect the whole dynamic of your day, right?
Yeah.
2 minutes is nothing, right? So he's happy, we're happy, and then when we leave, it's okay, time's out, right? Rather
Yeah.
than no, you cannot, right? So we've been able to kind of negotiate that, and that has worked really well with us. So screen time has been a recent challenge, right? That has been rising up with new babies,
Yeah.
right? New kids.
Yeah. I mean, kids these days have their own iPads. And so it's hard as a nanny to step in and be like, get off your iPad. Let's do something.
Right, right. Because you're doing a disservice as a nanny if you, I mean, it's easy
Yeah,
for
if
a
you're not
nanny to
being
say, yeah,
engaging, like, and
play.
genuinely, it's not fun to sit there and, like, watch someone else play a game, So I'm always like, as a
Right.
nanny, like, I'd rather be playing not just because I should be, but because I don't want to be sitting here doing nothing, you know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it
I
used to
had a
be
Oh, one of the boys who's, I don't know, like 12 now, I met him when he was 3 months old. He is very into Minecraft, and there was a couple months where I was, like, picking him up every Wednesday because see how we have, like, early release, the kids are out at, like, 1 and parents aren't done with work till 5, right? So I was picking him up every Wednesday, and their rule was he had an hour of Minecraft right when he got home. That was, like, his, like, veg out time, and so, like, one weekend, I was like, I gotta get Minecraft. I'm not gonna sit here and not do anything. And so I got it. I'm, like, trying to figure it out, but then it became him, like, teaching me about it. I was like, I don't really care. I'm just trying to do something." And so it became, like, a big thing of him teaching me Minecraft every Wednesday. So,
right. Right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're able to engage him in something different with you.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. I
you know,
didn't enjoy that one specific case, but yes, I was engaging.
right. Right. Yeah, my son is going through the same thing. He wants to play Minecraft with me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. Right. Let's
Yeah.
do something else. Right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. But he always asks because we don't have um, the the device connected to internet, so we don't allow him to play online. So it's he alone on his world. So
Yeah.
he needs a buddy to play with, right? So
Right.
I can understand.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, me and my wife kind of join his game and we play together for a little bit until we kind of get Minecraft is too much. How do you think AI is affecting nanny service if it's affecting it at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some new businesses out there that are trying to make a, like, AI matching service of nannies. I haven't seen the parent side of it. I guess I don't know exactly how it works, but, I don't do that, and I probably won't do that, so it's not really gonna change my business. I'm a little bit intrigued if they can, like, make a trends graph for me, but like I said, childcare trends just aren't really applicable to me. So I'm not affected yet. I think I did actually have AI make me a banner for one of the marketing materials I did. I put in my logo and I said, "Make me a banner for book your summer needs here," and that was great. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I have the same issue with Prevented AI. I mean, the quality of our process is overbuilt, and we use AI to assist us in some things, like reviewing CVs and getting some information. But at one point, I've been thinking about putting an AI interviewer to run the initial interviews. But then again, the really good people are not going to want to do that. Right. So, the same thing if you put something like that for the nannies, the really good nannies are not going to want to be, it's a there's a dehumanizing on that process, right? So
yeah,
dehumanization on that process. So I think that your competitive advantage is you caring and your experience, and that's there is no AI that can change that.
exactly.
You can vibe code with AI a little bit. You can add a feature here and there. I think, right, you can use it to find patterns or things like that, or get a little bit more information. But that's about it, right? I mean, you don't want to put a chatbot on your website, right? Because again, it has to
Yeah,
be personal, right? Yeah, I think that your strategy is sound.
yeah, definitely.
So let me ask you one last question. What advice would you give someone that wants to start business today?
I think it's gotta just be stay involved. Like, figure out what's needed as a leader, make the changes so that everybody has a good experience, right? And I think the only way to really know what's needed is to be doing it or be in it. So I think that the reason Spilt Milk works so well is because I was a nanny. I helped develop the software of, like, ooh, this feature is a must have. I don't really use that one, right? So I have, like, the development part of it, the nanny side of it. Now I'm a parent. And so I have, like, when somebody messages me, I'm like, okay, am I responding as a nanny, mom, or a business owner? That can make it hard sometimes, but I think it's also really helpful of being able to see it from all angles of like, this is what parents need, this is what nannies need, and I'm going to provide what's needed, right? So I think that staying involved is the best way to have a successful business, really.
Right, right. I think that your service is super important because couples, when the baby is born, couples focus so much on the baby that they forget how to be a couple, or that they prioritize the baby or the kids over the couple. And that could become a problem further down the road. I think that couples should spend 1 hour a week together doing something fun
Yeah.
to keep the relationship strong for them and for the child, right? It's also a service for the child, right?
Yeah.
So having a happy, unite parents, it's so important in today's world for the kids. I think it's much more important. I think that with your service, you are helping families to achieve that. So I
Yeah.
think it's
Absolutely.
very important. So Erin, I truly appreciate you being here today. Any final remarks before we wrap it up?
I mean, I guess if anybody has childcare questions, I love answering them. My email is in the bio, right? Yeah.
We'll put it on the description of the episode as well as your website so people can reach out.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Awesome. Erin, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.